Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your local experts on all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Listen in as they discuss the current state of the market, the latest trends, and have a little fun while doing it. We do want to say the opinions voiced on this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individuals. All right, y'all, we're back with another week of This Week in Real Estate, where we're putting the convention in the convention alone. I don't know.
Man, that's weak sauce,
that's
Trent.
terrible.
Weak sauce.
Oh,
Convention?
better.
Like, are we going to Nashville or Vegas or something?
We're gonna go
The
to
convention?
The convention
Talk about
center.
conventional mortgages.
I'm disappointed.
I'm sorry.
We've come to expect
Listen,
very great things.
hang on. You ready? Trent, I'm not mad at you. I'm just very disappointed.
I'll take it. I'm not even going to pass blame. It is worse.
Goodness gracious. But we saved it, I think, with the dadism on there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Full circle. It worked.
Somehow.
So, hey, last week was fun. We did a little departure from the normal show and met over at the business plan, the entrepreneurship fair, the high school entrepreneurship fair. It was pretty cool. The winner of that, follow up here, the winner of that, she makes hats, like hand makes hats, like knitted hats, and sells them. And she's been doing it for 3 years.
Wow.
And she's got an Etsy shop and she's got a couple of other things. But are you ready for this? She has already done over $100,000 in sales in 3 years.
Wow.
Hand making hats.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That's incredible.
And she's done well enough with it that the yarn supplier sells her yarn below wholesale just so that she is like a spokesperson for their yarn. Like sends her free skeins of yarn and discounted and all this.
That's great, man.
She teaches people how to knit. She hosts like these little knitting circles and stuff. So we talked about scalability and gave her some ideas. And
she's a high school student.
Dude, she is killing it.
Yeah, I wonder what I was gonna ask. I wonder what $100,000 in revenue for any high school kid is. Way better than eliminated Sand I ran when I was little. But like, what's her cost of goods? And so it sounds
very
like
little.
very low. So she's doing really
it's her
well.
time. Yeah, so
And,
she's
Anderson, Audrey, if y'all are
get yourselves in gear. And she can make a hat in like 30 minutes.
No way.
Yeah, she can make a hat in like 30 minutes. So she's basically making, when she sits down and knits, she's making close to $60 an hour.
Are these like
58.
Are these like beanies? I'm trying to like get a visual. So they're like beanies, like a knit.
Like $58 an hour is what she's making.
What is she selling for?
Like $32.
That's solid. I mean,
Drop her business name or her socials or something. Like
Yeah, I'll have to get that for you, but I'll work on that. But yeah, it was
Come
how
back and
incredible,
look in
right?
the comments later on.
Yep. I can't remember the website, but anyway, we'll get that on there. But she's on Etsy.
That's great.
But how incredible is that?
That's amazing. That's
cool.
great news.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So there's your winner. Pretty cool though. There was like 60 or 70 high school business plans there, and they took it a little bit past just a business plan. Some of them developed some prototypes and stuff. Man, I'll tell you, anytime you get discouraged, anytime you think that, this country's falling apart and creativity's evaporated and blah, 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 go attend an event like that.
That's cool.
That's beautiful.
There is hope, people.
Well, and that's like we always look when you start getting into your 40s and beyond, or maybe even your late 30s and beyond, you start to look at the generations behind you and go, these kids, and it's a good reminder. There's always some great kids out there doing some great things. Whatever the stereotypes are, you can put them on a shelf in a lot of cases because there's always going to be somebody that's coming up with a great idea.
There were two,
and somebody's coming up that's going to outwork you too if you get complacent.
Easily.
One of my coworkers and I were talking about this yesterday, and we were looking at like these young bucks in the mortgage world, and we're like, this kid's just like, how's he getting all this business? Like, what's he doing? And you're like, oh, that was me 5 years ago. That was me 10 years ago.
My realization is that I'm an old guy in real estate now, and there are people that are they're doing it. Like they're me 12 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's a good wake up call for all of us that have been in the business for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, I'm gonna get somebody. Hold on, real quick. I promise it is not normal for me to do text messaging while I'm on this show, but I'm gonna get the information.
Is this a good opportunity for Trent to take us into headlines?
Absolutely.
All right, headlines.
No, I got my phone out.
Oh, you're so unprofessional.
We're talking to each other.
Okay.
So headlines. I mean, I think the big headline from last week. I mean, it was definitely the Fed dropping rates a quarter, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That was the big news.
Right.
Nothing else happened.
Nothing else happened.
So, yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, the Fed did exactly what we thought they were going to do. You know, I was kind of, there was like a little part of me that thought maybe they would do nothing just to wait and see. But they didn't. They did exactly what we thought. Mortgages had already responded to it. And now mortgages are doing what?
Well, I mean, so if you want to talk about the other headline, which was, of course, the election, and this is, I think, for a lot of people who wanted to see Donald Trump win the election, they might be kind of surprised to see how mortgage rates have moved, because a common misconception is when the economy is doing good, mortgage rates are going to be low, but it's actually a lot of times it's going to be the opposite. If the economy is doing well, and then you're going to see there's no reason for mortgage rates to come down. There's no drive for the people who sell those mortgage-backed securities to lower the yield on those, because they have to offer a higher yield to the investors who want to buy those. Mm-hmm. So you see with Trump winning, some of his policies are going to be potentially inflationary, like tariffs. Some of his policies, his spending plan is going to be inflationary. So those kinds of things, in addition to him being business friendly, which will lead to a stronger stock market, are going to result in higher mortgage rates. Because a strong stock market, again, if I've got $1 million to invest somewhere, and I'm looking for something that's going to give me the best return while I'm trying to balance risk.
And the stock market's giving me 14.
Right. And I know that the next 4 years are going to be pretty good. I believe that they're going to be pretty good because Donald Trump is going to be business friendly. I'm going to throw my money into the stock market instead of more of a safe investment. Well,
and I'll tell you one thing that I guess aspect of everything that really drove home to me is just how emotional our economy is, right? Yeah. Like immediately the stock market went up. He's not going to take office for another couple months,
right?
But immediately the stock market, did what it did. And I think I'm gonna say this, but then we're going to table this until we get to that other segment.
Okay.
People still need to realize that half of the country didn't want him.
Yeah.
I mean, like
pretty close.
Pretty daggum close, right?
Yeah.
And so, we're in a really interesting time right now.
Yeah.
But the stock market did what it did,
right?
Mortgages are doing what they do, and so we're kind of sitting here still going, well, that didn't in a microwave society. It didn't immediately lower interest rates. Well, and nor should it have.
Right. And in a more recent headline, we get today's consumer price index comes out, and it's 2.6%. The inflation is sitting at 2.6, right at on expectations. So whereas yesterday interest rates were higher, today they've kind of given back some of that territory. We'll see if they can hold on to those gains, because a lot of times what will happen is mortgage-backed securities will open up trading here, and then as the day goes on, it might start to fall. And I've seen some rate lock alerts, which when we get a rate lock alert, that means, hey, if you've got somebody in your pipeline, you might want to go ahead and get them locked because it looks like there may be a midday reprice towards higher rates. Mm-hmm. So they may open up down here, and then as the day goes on and as the trading continues to happen throughout the day, if there's enough volatility and enough momentum, then it could move the rates in the same day. And so we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. I had somebody that wanted to refi about 6 weeks ago, and I said, hey, the numbers, they're close. I said, let's hold tight. I don't think they're where you want them right now, but if this momentum continues for the next week or two, maybe the market will get you where you want it. And so they didn't refi, and the market went completely the other direction. Rates continue to go up. I still think it was the right decision for them to not refinance 6 weeks ago. And this morning she said we checked in with each other, and she wanted to know where rates were, and I told her where they are, and she said, well, shoot. And I said, yeah, but don't get too discouraged, because I do think that that they will go back in the other direction. They do kind of go up and down. There's peaks and valleys. It's not going to be a steady rise back to 8, I don't believe. So the next time they go back into a trough, maybe the new low will be lower than it was 6 weeks ago, and the window will be right for you to refinance them. It's just a matter of waiting it out.
Yeah, and that, I think that's super important is when we talk about the overall climate of rates and things like that, it is you can't look at each movement as an answer, right? You have to look at a summary of each of those movements. So right now, today, rates go up.
Right.
Okay. Tomorrow, rates come down. Right. And then, and so on. All
look
the way
at
down
a
the
wider
line.
graph.
Exactly. You got to back up and look at the whole thing. Okay. Well, when rates are down here, did they go down further than the last time they came down?
Right.
You know, and so on.
And it's also a good example of why it's so deadgum hard to time the market. You just can't do it.
It's just pretty close to impossible.
And I love this saying, and I've heard this from Belinda Arender, my boss, many times. And it's, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Don't be too greedy. And in this customer's case, it wasn't right for them to refinance 6 weeks ago. It just wasn't quite there for them. It was close, but it just wasn't quite there. And if they had, it would have been a reach. So I don't feel like they got bad advice. I don't feel like that it wasn't the right thing to do. Another loan officer might have go ahead and pushed them towards doing it. Who knows? But I feel like that we made the right decision. We were hopeful that the rates would have gotten better, and that by this point now we'd be closing on the refi. That didn't happen. Now, but if they had been able to refi 6 weeks ago and decided to wait to see if they got even lower, that'd be a case of a hog getting slaughtered because their window to refi would have closed, and they have to wait for it to open back up.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing that anytime we start talking about refinance options and when to do it and all that, I think it's super critical, and you do this, but I think it's super critical that anybody you're getting advice from on that refi situation is not allowing you to be just payment sensitive. Right. There's a financial health aspect of this that is super critical that you pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Right. Because there's a cost associated. There's a payment associated.
They're restarting their amortization schedule.
That's it. There's a long-term effect. I mean, there's all kinds of different components that you have to take all of that into consideration. Now, it's possible that you overbought or you overdid it and you expected, to be out of this mess 3 years ago, and you and I've talked about that, right?
Oh yeah.
Or you did one of those
2-1 buy downs. I tell you, and that's another thing. My coworker and I that were talking yesterday, we just talked about this too, and that's that. I feel a whole lot better about doing a 2-1 buy down in 2024 than I did in 2020. In 2020, we didn't know where the ceiling was going to be. We didn't know how long rates were going to stay up. 2022, I should say.
Right.
We didn't know where the ceiling was. We didn't know how long they would stay high. So a lot of people did 2-1 buy downs in 2022, and now it's 2024.
And they're hurting.
And they're like, golly, I've got this full payment and I can't refi.
And
they may be at 5.
I was going to say the day, depending on the day, it might actually be higher now than it was.
It probably is. They may never get a chance to refi that, before they're through with that house and ready to move to their next one. So they may be, hopefully they were wise with their money for the first 2 years while their payments were lower and they socked some away. If I had done that for a client, I would have told them to, hey, you're getting the advantage of the lower payment for the next 2 years, but you need to go ahead and move whatever the difference is. I love the save the difference plan. Move the difference between your adjusted payment for the next 2 years and into a savings account.
Count on your payment being what it will be in 3 years.
That will get you used to that full payment.
And you have a nest egg.
And you have a little bit of a savings account set aside.
Yeah, that's solid.
So
advice.
if you're thinking about doing the 2-1 buy down now in 2024, which I feel better about that option. It's funny because it's not talked about as near as much now, because the knee-jerk reaction I think to the rates going up was, what can we do to try to give people some relief?
They went up so rapidly.
What can we do to try to give people some relief? And now it's like, we're just kind of conditioned to it, so you don't hear this 2-1 buy down talk as much, but again. Only makes sense if the seller's paying for it. Otherwise, you're subsidizing your own interest.
And I'm gonna give you another little quick hot take on that. One of the reasons we don't hear it as much is that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, people still felt a sense of urgency. It was left over to go ahead and buy. I gotta buy. And they were coming off of rapidly increasing prices. Super low interest rates. So, it's sort of like if you're a runner, I'm not, but if you're a runner and you come off of that that long run and you start walking, you still feel like you're running, right? So you have like this almost anxiety of sorts.
Yeah.
Your body is still doing that. And so we're coming off of this fast run, this sprint for several years, right? They come into that moment. How do I still buy? How do I still buy? Now the answer is, well, we don't.
Now the answer is, hey, I don't have to buy this house right now because it'll probably still be here next week. I'm gonna go look at a couple more.
Or several more, or I'm just going to wait till
the election's over or whatever.
Pick your milestone. I want to wait for something. I don't know what it is yet, but there's no sense of urgency now. I mean, very, very little. And if it is completely situational, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, all right, good stuff, man. Good banter. What's next, Trent?
Yep, this is real.
Oh, man.
Another crazy.
Yes.
We've had some safari themed stuff before, but this is the coup de grace.
That's a cool word.
There are two things that don't fit in this room, though. That's a lion. Three things. That's a zebra. I guess that's the dinner. And there's a cheetah over there.
Everything else is tiger.
Everything else is a tiger. Now,
I think it's a big cat themed room, and I bet if you are these
tigers,
are those claws on the wall?
I think they are. Yeah, I think those are. You're right. I think that's a 3D reach there. Now, I can't tell because it's a little blurry. Is this tiger sitting on a zebra, a slaughtered zebra, and is that a little tiger pup?
Those are tiger pups. So no, he's just sitting on I think a rock. Is that a record player?
Yeah,
I like that record player.
Me too. I want that. Oh, it might be
it's got pipe? That's a good call. Nice call. There's a pipe coming out of it. That might be a heat source.
I think it's a record player in a stove.
Why not?
Why not?
Your records would get super warped though.
Yeah, that wouldn't
That's
work.
a bad idea.
I don't know. I don't hate this room.
I noticed there's no like light fixture on the ceiling. So like there's no ceiling fan, there's no light, but they've done a really creative job in bringing some lighting into the room.
So judging by the shape of the room, the style of the door, the no overhead light, this is a 1960s or older, between 60s and 40s house.
Probably,
This is a traditional, just ranch style home.
Yep.
It's definitely. I mean, it looks like this is taken from where the kitchen would start.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kitchen would be that way, actually. I'll tell you, I mean, here's the thing. They like what they like. And you know, it's not completely overkill.
Is there anything missing from this room?
Pride Rock.
That's a good
There
call.
should be a Pride Rock sticking out over here.
I think they need a big rug.
Yeah, I was about to say a rug.
There's no tiger
It should be zebra rugs.
or a zebra rug. I do think it should be a zebra rug.
Like several of them.
I do agree with that. But they need a rug. That floor, they don't want to damage it.
Brian, the homestager, walks in. You know, what this room could really use is a rug.
Zebra.
Really ties the
Bring
room
in
together.
all the zebra rugs.
You know what really tie that room together? A rug.
Let's not make any other changes.
Classic. Let's do this next. Oh, man.
Market move.
I don't hate this.
Dude. All right.
I could walk in and not go, "Row," though,
Yeah,
you know?
definitely say that every time.
All right, market movers.
All right, so tomorrow we already talked about the core CPI today coming in right on expectation. So tomorrow we've got jobless claims. Expectations 220,000. We'll also be looking for revisions to previous reports. The last couple of jobless claims have really been market movers. I would expect nothing less tomorrow. If that number comes in off target and based on the last few reports, it very well could. Then that could be a big market mover. We also have producer price indexes. The expectation is going to be 3%. Previous report was 2.8. So,
But the last few, you said the last few have been off target. They've been significantly lower jobless claims. Right.
So let's see here.
So allegedly more jobs have been created than.
Right. So like last week on November the 7th, the jobless claims actually was right on target. It was right on expectation. I think it was the one before that there was a big discrepancy between, and it was a miss. It was lower jobless claims, a lot lower.
Like
jobless
a lot
claims.
lower, like half.
Like it was like the expectation was around 220. It was like 170 or something like that. So when you see a big miss to the downside like that on jobless claims,
Because I called BS on that, and you were like, "Well, there'll be revisions," and we talked about,
but when you have that happen, when it comes in, if there's lower jobless claims than expectation, that's the way that you would interpret that if you're watching
the everything's stronger.
Rates should be going up.
Right.
So you want to, if you're rooting for rates to go down, then you want jobless claims to come in,
Which feels terrible, right?
It does.
But we've been saying this forever. There has to be some pain in order to get relief on rates.
Right.
So if one thing gets better, something else has to be worse.
Right.
It's interesting. Okay.
Take your medicines. Right.
I know it. So for me, the market mover, the election's over, and pure anecdote here. I have seen a tremendous increase. And here's the thing. Hear what I'm actually saying here, right? When we went from 0 showings, basically, to some showings. And we're seeing people, at least stick their toe back into the market. Are seeing a little bit of an uptick in some new under contracts and some things like that. We won't know exactly because of the way that the numbers are reported yet, but from me, I've seen more showings on my listings in the last 5 days, 6 days now.
That's great.
Than in probably the previous month. So it's that's good. We'll see if people start pulling the trigger or not.
Got a buddy that I work with got 3 contracts over the weekend. I didn't get any. So good for him. But anecdotally, I think I'm hearing those kinds of stories that people are starting to see little signs of activity, whereas for probably a solid month leading into the election, there just wasn't much buzz.
Nothing.
And it always blows my mind because I think we would have had the same increase in activity had the election gone the other way.
I've said that for months. It doesn't matter. Everybody's just happy it's over. Or some are not as happy, but at least it's over. Right. Yeah. All right. Next section.
Well, we got shiny pennies.
You happy penny.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So good news for our veterans out there. And I love the timing of this. This came out last week, right before Veterans Day weekend. And the THDA has come out and said, a little background on THDA. THDA is a wonderful down payment assistance program. So for first-time home buyers or veterans as repeat home buyers, they don't have to be a first-time home buyer if you're a veteran. If you can buy a home and you can get some assistance with your down payment or your closing costs. So in the context of let's say that you can take a THDA loan. You can pair it up with a rural development, with a conventional, with an FHA or a VA loan. You can do a THDA with any of those loan programs. So if you're a veteran and you want to take advantage of your VA benefit, you can do a 0 down VA loan with a THDA down payment assistance, second mortgage. So, but there is a catch when it comes to income limits. You can make too much money to qualify for this program, and I think a lot of people know that. But how does that look when you've got, say, a veteran who's getting some disability? Maybe they work part time, maybe they don't. But you've got a veteran getting disability, and then a spouse who's got some income, and you combine it all together, maybe over the income limit. So last week, THDA came out and said, "Hey, you don't have to count a veteran's disability towards their total household income, towards their qualifying income, because they don't go by household income anymore now. They go by qualifying income. So somebody...
That's good, because it used to be
household.
Literally everybody, if your kid had a part-time job...
If you had a grandparent living with you that got retirement, you'd have to count that towards the household income. They did away with that several years ago, which was a blessing, a huge benefit. Because now you could have 2 spouses working and just do, if one of them makes enough income to qualify, you just do the loan in one of their names and not both of them. But the great thing here is that somebody's VA disability might be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, and if you don't have to count that towards the income limit, then that opens up their ability to, and for some families to be able to qualify for THDA that may not have otherwise been able to. So there's a shiny penny for you.
And throwing one more little piece on there is, a lot of folks aren't aware of this, but with VA, correct me if I'm wrong, any level of stated VA disability allows you to not have the funding fee.
That is absolutely
that goes
correct.
along with it. So, a lot of folks, they'll come out of the service and they'll have hearing loss, or they'll have all kinds of things or disabilities.
Right.
It is not the
It
mainstream
It
definition.
doesn't mean permanently disabled, not able to work. It can be, you can be,
And they do it by percentages.
Right.
So as low as what, 5%?
right. If you're getting the 5%, if you're getting the lowest percentage of disability that the VA has, then you are exempt from paying the funding fee.
So if you come out of service and you feel like you have basically anything,
Right.
like I said, hearing loss or numbness or all kinds of stuff, go talk to your VA coordinator and go through the process, spend whatever it is, 2-3 months probably, to get that all done.
Yeah.
And it's going to save you thousands just on a VA loan.
Thousands. I've got somebody right now who is planning on doing a VA interest rate reduction loan once the market's right. And so they had to pay a funding fee on their loan, but I know that there's a application for disability that's pending, and it has been for a long time. I'm like, oh, get that wrapped up.
Get it finished
Get
up.
that finished up, because it will save you it could save them $13,000.
Yeah, it's substantial.
It's big money.
Substantial. So, okay, good stuff there. Shiny penny. That's awesome. I'm glad that they're doing that. I'll throw one other thing out there. If you are a veteran and you are struggling with the VA and getting the paperwork done and getting it pushed through the right channels and all that, it is quite a labyrinth sometimes. Let me know, and I've got some connections that I can get you with that will help you navigate that. That for whatever reason folks don't know about, and they certainly don't always take advantage of.
Yeah.
So there's some shortcuts. Let's put it that way.
It's good to know.
Yep.
Good to know.
All right, pro tip.
No, I'm going to throw one pro tip out there, and this is a super practical one. Finally, the weather is starting to cool off just a little bit, right?
It's a smooch.
My goodness, it's been weird, but as it does, if you haven't, and most homeowners have not, go up into your attic soon, real soon, while it's still nice outside. Go up into your attic, take a flashlight. We're not moving Christmas trees and all kinds of stuff like that. This time you're going to go up there on purpose. You're going to crawl around, look around, and I want you to take that flashlight, and I want you to just skim the decking, the plywood, right?
In between the rafters.
In between the rafters, and look for water staining.
Right.
That's number one. Number two is turn off the flashlight and look for daylight coming in. So, you're going to have to do this before 4 o'clock in the afternoon now. Look for daylight coming in, and then go look at that daylight. If you see it, there's a few places that you should have some daylight, but go look at it and make sure that it is obscured, opaque daylight, right? Like shining through something and not literal daylight, cracked vent boots and things like that. And then the last thing is get a ladder out or hire somebody or whatever and get those gutters cleaned out. Yeah. So we're trying to winterize, winterproof your roof. Oh, that rhymed. What? Look at that.
Winterproof your roof.
Winterproof your roof. Wow. But get those leaves out, especially in the corners, so that we don't end up with ice dams. Because you're going to say, yeah, I'll do that, I'll do that, and then you won't do it, and then all of a sudden we'll have freeze one day, and you'll be crying.
I'll tell you, that's important. We had a cabin in East Tennessee, and we had an Airbnb guest that notified our property manager that there was some water stain on the ceiling, and was really glad that they did. So pretty quickly, we made a short weekend. We went up to the cabin to check it out, and so I went up in the attic. It was the first time I've been in the attic of the cabin. So yeah, I mean, people don't necessarily go to their attics all the time. So I'm in there, and I'm like, okay, well, right about here is where they saw the water on the ceiling. Let me go there and see what I can see. And all the everything's dry. And I was like, it rained recently, but all the insulation was dry. So I was like, where's the water coming from? And so I started looking at the roof, and it's a metal roof. And so sure enough, there's just this one beam of solid daylight coming through. So I went and took a cheap approach to it and got some JB Weld and patched it and thought I was moving on. Went back to the cabin a few weeks later, just kind of go back in there and check on things. And and this time I was looking, okay, if that was a problem there, are there any other problems with the roof? And so I found no evidence of any problems wrong with the roof, except that there was one rafter that was soaking wet. So there was one rafter that was just completely wet, and I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. So I'm not going to be able to just JB Weld this thing. So I started looking into getting somebody to come out, and I thought maybe tighten up all the screws. That was going to cost so much money to just get somebody to come out and do the screws. We ended up getting a whole new roof because we had somebody come out and look at it, and they were like, dude, your roof is just shot.
Well, depending on what type of metal roof it is, there's a lot of the, let's say from the later 90s till about maybe 10 years ago, you had exposed screws on those metal roofs. Yeah. And every screw has a little rubber grommet under it. Well, rubber, when exposed to sun and it cracks. Yeah. And so like in your case with that soaking wet rafter, it was screwed into the rafter. Yeah. That rubber deteriorated, starts to let water in. Exactly. And what happens to metal when it gets wet over time? It rusts, and so it just further gets gone. Yeah. So yeah, that's good advice.
Here's a pro tip: if you're going to buy an Airbnb or any kind of investment property, be fully aware of all the expenses. Because I mean, we got hammered this spring. The new roof, HVAC went out 2 weeks later. We had to cut a hole in the wall to put a window into what we had considered a bedroom. And when we bought it and everything, it all praises one bedroom, but wink, wink, everybody knows you're going to have a bed in there. Well, fire marshal in East Tennessee and Sewer County came out and said, if there's a bed in that room,
gotta have an egress.
You gotta have an egress. So we had to cut a hole into it.
And it doesn't matter if it's 4 stories up, your egress splats you on the ground.
Like but 3-foot cinder block, that those guys had to come out and cut a hole into the wall to install a window. It made the room a lot nicer, but but man, the expenses just did not stop coming this spring. So
that's brutal.
I think it's very romanticized to own investment properties, and I hear it from so many people, especially when rates were lower. Hey, how do I just take my current residence and turn it into a rental property? When I was like, well, do you have what's your contingency plan for if your tenant calls you on a Saturday night and you don't have and their HVAC is out? You got to get it fixed for them. You can't just turn on your fans, open your windows,
and suffer through
it. It's you have a duty to your tenant to take care of that. And if you're thinking about having an investment property and you don't have any money in the bank, you really need to reconsider. It might be better. It may not be the right thing for you to do.
Well, and so a couple of quick pro tips since we're already on this topic. Number one, always have an exit strategy. Yeah. Never buy a house that you can't resell and resell quickly. Yeah. Right. So that's number one. Number two, I don't like the idea of having a property that I can't drive to within an hour. Yeah. That's just me and drive by. Right. Yeah. So I manage my rental properties by sight a lot of times. Are they actively trashing my house? Yeah. Well, if I have a property that's 4 hours away, I'm not going to drive by it. Right. I'm just not. Right. It's not going to happen. Right. So that's the next thing. And then, yes, have reserves. Nothing will break until you blow through your reserves. Yeah. That's exactly when that will happen. Yeah. Oh, man. Every time. Yep. Every single time. Every and it'll come in waves, man. Yes, it will. It will come in waves. It's like deaths, right? Yeah. It comes in threes. Yeah. So that, and then, the idea that you're just going to have somebody manage the property, it's not a bad idea. I know a couple of great property managers. However, you have to understand that having somebody manage that cuts into your cash flow. Yeah. Right. Not into your tenant's cash flow. You can't just tack it on to theirs. Yeah. So it's into yours. So if you're on a razor thin margin or you've overpaid for that property, or guys, I'll just say it. I don't like having rental properties somewhere that has a big HOA fee. Yeah. Right. So like townhouses and things like that, where I'm already giving up $130, $140, $150 a month in HOA. That's the money that I would pay a property manager. Right. So now I'm double hit on that. And so all of a sudden it just doesn't make sense. And be aware too. I mean, there's you're not going to get rich today because you have investment properties. It's a long-term play. It is an alternative to investing in your 401k. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. Or it's a supplement. Or any, that's a great way to say it. It's not necessarily an alternative because that implies that you're doing one or the other. You can still participate in your 401k. You can still have a brokerage account with a financial advisor that's outside of a 401k and is not qualified funds. When I say qualified funds, that means it's money tax shelter that you put in before you paid income taxes on it. So you can do all those things. And I think that's important to do. When I talk about diversity, I don't talk about necessarily, your diversity in the individual equities and mutual funds that you own, but also your tax strategies. Yeah, that's part of it, absolutely. But that's the most common thought of when I hear when I'm in investing. When I hear diversity, I think, okay, well, I should have some growth stock mutual funds. I should have, and I'm not a financial advisor, but growth stock mutual funds. A little bit in international, a little bit in aggressive, bonds, a little bit in mid caps and small caps. And you should probably. But you need to diversify too. Have your 401k that you're
putting money into up to your company match, or maybe past that, where you're lower in your taxable income in the current
What's a
year.
company match?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know you.
I heard of those.
And so have that, but have a brokerage account outside of that too. Whether it's something you do yourself with E-Trade, or you work with a financial advisor that your family has a relationship or that you have a relationship with, have something like that too, so that you've got some money going into there that's not qualified, that you've already paid income taxes on.
Or liquid.
Because my father-in-law, when he retired, he wanted to buy a RV. He was going to spend a lot of money on an RV, and he called his financial advisor, and he's like, "I'm retired. I got this money in my 401k. Let's pull money out that I need to buy this RV." And we're like, "No, you don't want to do that, because your taxable income. Not only are you pulling money out to live on, but you're gonna bump your taxable income up by that amount if you pull it out of that qualified funds account. You need to find another way to get the money to buy the RV." Ended up doing a HELOC for him. Because it was cheaper for him to pay the interest on the HELOC and then pay it off real fast. Cheaper for him to do that than it was to pay the income taxes on the money he would have taken out.
Sure.
But
you need somebody smarter than you to tell you that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Trent. What's next?
I think that's it.
That's it? Did we do it?
We did it. I got a little jingle that Gateway Title did that I'm gonna play on the way out. It's really funny.
All right. Sounds good.
And we'll call it a day.
Love it.
Take it away.
Okay, I would just like to preface this with Gateway Title is very serious about what we do. We do amazing work. Our legal team is unprecedented, and we're very proud of them. But we also have a fun side, and we'd like to share that with you guys today.
Yes.
So Gateway has a jingle, and it's been long time coming, like 5 minutes.
On the right over here.
Yeah. So, are you girls ready?
Without further ado,
Start it off. Kayce.
Oh no.
5, 6, 7, 8.
My favorite title company has a first name. It's Gateway. My favorite title company has a second name. It's Title. We like to close there every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Gateway Title has a way with CLOSINGS's.
Oh my god.
Trent, did you just snort?
I did. That was a full snort. That was amazing.
No, most of it was awful. Pulled into some excellent harmony in that one little section.
Yeah. Hey, and congrats to Leslie over there
Yes.
at Gateway. Congratulations on the firstborn. She's beautiful. I got to see a picture, not in person yet. But anyway, congratulations.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gateway, for your continued support. And Mary, obviously. You're the best. We love you. Okay, we out. We're officially out now. Thank you for listening to another episode of This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your go-to resource for all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see y'all on the next one.
Now for the nitty-gritty. Primis Mortgage Company is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC. Primis Mortgage NMLS number 1894879, BK number 1042893, ML number 1894879. As always, all loans are subject to credit approval and product guidelines. Equal housing lender.